Right, hello everybody, welcome back. So in today's video, I'm going to be showing you the #1 prismatic build that I've been running for the past 2 weeks that I've refined over time to be quite the ad clear monster, and I believe is one of the best prismatic builds in the game. So what are you actually going to get out of this build? Well, for one, you're going to get constant healing on kill and constant restoration after every orb pickup. You're also going to get a near permanent 25% damage buff in the form of Radiant, rapid ability energy gains, and massive suspending AoE explosions. And on top of all of that, you get to charge your Transcendence meter in less than 10 seconds. So in terms of what actually goes into the build, we're of course going to be on Prismatic Warlock. Starting off with the super abilities, we're going to have Song of Flame because this will allow us to gain restoration whenever we pick up an Orb of Power with Facet of Purpose. This basically gives us a nice healing loop throughout our build. The reason we have this is because with this build, we're going to be making lots of orbs very frequently, which is going to enable us to take advantage of this fragment as often as possible. We also have Phoenix Dive here because it's the lowest cooldown, and I personally don't like either healing or empowering rift. I just like the movement of Phoenix Dive. Then we have Arcane Needle. Now this is very important because we are also going to be using the Mataiodoxia exotic chest piece that came out with the final shape, and we need Arcane Needles for that chest piece to work. So we're going to have Arcane Needles. Plus it's nice to have 3 melee charges. For those of you who don't know, Arcane Needles did get a buff recently, and they do actually do quite a lot of damage. We also have Vortex Grenade on here because I think it's one of the stronger grenades that Prismatic Warlock has. You can sub this out for Storm Grenade if you really want to, but me personally, I just prefer Vortex because of the inward pull effect that it has when it's near enemies. Then moving on to aspects, we have Feed the Void, which is just to give us Devour. Any ability kill will give us Devour, which is pretty nice. So that means kills with our Vortex Grenade or our Arcane Needle will give us Devour for 10 seconds, and kills with the Helion aspect, which is our second aspect, will also proc Devour because Helion kills count as ability kills, which is pretty cool. So yes, this is the second aspect we are taking. It's just to give us another source of light energy that we're going to use to build our Transcendence meter, because as you'll come to see, a lot of this build is focused on darkness abilities, which means our darkness meter will be building faster than our light one, so we need to find ways to compensate for that. So then moving on to the fragments, this is where things actually do get slightly interesting. First of all, we have Facet of Devotion, which makes it so defeating targets afflicted with stasis or strand debuffs gives us bonus light Transcendence energy. Again, it's just giving us a bit more light energy because this build is very dark dominated. Then here we have quite possibly the most important fragment of the whole build. It is Facet of Grace, because this fragment makes it so defeating targets with kinetic weapons grants you bonus Transcendence energy. This is very, very important because of the one weapon that we're going to be using, which we will talk about in just a moment, but this is one of the key things that will let us get our Transcendence back as soon as humanly possible. Next, we have Facet of Honor, which gives us more light Transcendence energy when we create fire sprites, which is what we're going to be doing with our artifact mods. Next, we have Facet of Hope, which will give us increased class ability regeneration rate while we have an elemental buff. So this is Radiant Restoration no matter what. The only thing that it doesn't work with is Amplified, but that doesn't matter because we're not getting Amplified at all with this setup. It's also around a 60% boost to our regen, which just means we're going to be getting our Helion a little bit faster. And then, like I spoke about earlier, we have Facet of Hope to give us restoration every time we pick up an Orb of Power. So that's it for the abilities. Let's move on to the weapons. Now, like I said, the most important weapon for this build is going to be the Khvostov 7GOX. Now, the reason for this is because if you didn't know, this weapon is absolutely amazing. Not just for gaining Transcendence energy, which it is, but just in general, it's such a fantastic weapon. It's actually become one of my favorite weapons in the entire game. I've put nearly 10,000 kills on it with just a week of having it, and another reason why it's also very strong is because it has Shoot to Loot, which is just going to make our job of picking up orbs that feed us restoration and our other perks a lot easier, because we can just do it from a very safe distance. This perk also synergizes very well with the exotic trait of Khvostov, which makes it so that when you pick up an orb, you get 7 of those buffed up ricochet shots. And another thing you may not know, the ricochets give you so much Transcendence energy. It's actually insane. You only need around 7 of the ricochets to actually charge up your Transcendence meter fully. Now that is from a Toady video, so shout out Toady, he was the one to find that out. He found out that it was around 7 bounces, but given that it takes that little to almost nearly fully charge your Transcendence meter when combined with Facet of Grace, makes this build insane. You literally get your Transcendence back so fast. So yeah, like I said, this is the main weapon to be using. The rest of them don't really matter. This is going to be your main weapon that you use for everything. Obviously, your heavy matters when it comes to bigger targets. I just have an Eager Edge Sword at the moment, or you can swap to like a Pro Memoria, for example. And then we have Indebted Kindness just for a little bit of extra light energy from the Vault Shot ticks, but you will be getting it back so fast if you exclusively use Khvostov anyway, it doesn't really matter. So just use Khvostov. Then, of course, the second most crucial piece of this build is the Mataiodoxia, the brand new chess piece. So this is going to make it so our Arcane Needle kills create suspending explosions on kill, or if you kill an enemy that you have hit with a needle, they will then create a suspending explosion on death. Initially, people wrote off this exotic as it did look kind of mid, but really just having having played with this, it's very, very strong. You'll be surprised if you actually try it yourself. Having each Arcane Needle kill, that you will have a lot of, create a rather large suspending explosion is very nice for AoE ad clear, plus it will make a tangle as well, which if you blow up will just deal with the group that is suspended. So yeah, the main goal of this is literally just to spam your abilities. There's no real gameplay loop, it's just if you have an ability, use it, because it will feed into all of your other ones with how we have the build set up. So speaking of, moving on to the mods, the first most important mod to have here is Kinetic Siphon, because this is going to make it so our double kills with Khvostov will create an orb of power, which we can then shoot to loot to gain our stacks of Eyes Up Guardian and also Restoration, and then Radiant, which we will also get from the artifact, which I'll talk about in a second. Then we also have Heavy Ammo Finder and Heavy Ammo Scout to make lots of heavy. Because we are using an exotic primary, it will only take us around 16 to 17 kills to make a Finder Brick, which is pretty nice because we're going to be getting a lot of kills with Khvostov. Then we have Heavy Handed to make an orb on a melee kill. This is on a 10-second cooldown, but there's nothing really better to have there, so might as well. We also have Momentum Transfer to make it so when we deal damage with our grenade, it gives us a little bit more melee energy, and then also Bolstering Detonation, which will give us a little bit more class ability energy when we deal damage with our grenade. Chest piece, we just have resist mods. I've also gone for a charged up for one more armor charge. Then on our boots, we have one Kinetic Siphon, which will give us a 10% bonus to our Khvostov damage, which is just makes it feel a lot nicer. And then we have a couple mods to give us ability energy back whenever we pick up orbs. So Absolution is going to give us 5% ability energy to all of our abilities whenever we pick up an orb, and Invigoration is going to give us 10% just to our melee whenever we pick up an orb. We don't need mods like Recuperation or Better already because of Facet of Purpose, because every time we pick up an orb, it's going to give us Restoration, which is basically the same thing as those healing mods on our boots. Finally, on our Bond, we have Reaper, which is just to make another orb every time we get a double kill with our Khvostov. We also have Time Dilation to make our surges last a little longer, and Special Finisher in case we're running low on any of our special weapons. Right, so on our artifact, we only need 5 mods that really affect this build rather heavily, and the first of which is Elemental Siphon. This will make it so whenever we get a fair number of kills with our Khvostov, it will spawn a Fire Sprite, which will give us a little bit of light Transcendence energy because of that fragment we have, and it will also just give us a little more grenade, so it's just nice to have. Then we have Threaded Blast, so this is whenever you break a tangle with a strand weapon, it will cause a bigger explosion. Now this is why I had Pro Memoria on, because it's a strand LMG, but I just have this on because in that column there's really nothing else better. It's not crucial, but it's nice to have if you're running a strand LMG. Moving on to column 4, we have Radiant Orbs, which will give us Radiance every time we pick up an orb, and when we're shoot to looting them, as often as we are with Khvostov, we're going to have Radiant basically all the time. And then finally in column 5, the 2 mods that we want are Shield Crush. This will make it so whenever we are amplified or radiant, our grenade recharges faster and deals slightly more damage. I believe it's 25%. And then on the off chance that we get Frost Armor, Woven Mail, or a Void Overshield, it'll give us the same grenade and regen buff to our melee instead. And then finally we have Transference. Now this is very, very important because this will make it so when we come out of Transcendence after getting a fair number of kills with our Khvostov, if you hit the cap of kills, it will give us exactly half of our light and dark meter back, which basically halves the amount of effort we need to get to our next Transcendence. I don't know the exact number of kills you need to proc this mod, but it is a fair number. I'd probably say it's around 20 kills, but even still, if you get less than that, you still get a fair chunk of both of your meters back when it ends, so it's very good for snowballing consecutive Transcendence procs. So as you guys know, I do like to take my builds into high level content just to show you how they perform in said content, which is why today I've brought us to the Blooming Deep Lost Sector. So I'm just going to show you guys how the build plays, or how you're supposed to play it. So basically the gist is spam your abilities as much as possible. So we're going to try and kill him to create that suspending explosion. There we go. We've got our ricochets going already. We've got our Transcendence. Might as well pop it because that's the whole aim of the build. We'll just go to town, killing things with Khvostov, getting more ricochets. Whenever we have our abilities, we might as well use them as well. That's the sort of attitude you need to be going into this build with, is like when you have an ability, just use it, because it will come back extremely fast, and you will get it back with the methods that we use like in the build. So yeah, we'll just progress our way through this Lost Sector. So that orb is going to give us more ability energy, restoration, create a suspending explosion here off him, break that tangle. This guy can't do anything. I have my super, but I think I'm going to save it for a boss room, or you know what, I might as well pop it here. Finish charging my light meter, which is there. Kill all these enemies at the same time. So my light meter is fully charged, so I'll be able to go into the next room fully transcendent. This is a big group here, so I'll pop Transcendence. Try and get some suspends going. I'll get it back with my grenade damage. There's another one. I got Devour going, so I'll never die. As long as I keep getting kills. Keep suspending. Throw another grenade. And then the ricochets will do the rest. Let's see if I can spot an orb to shoot to loot. There we go. Keep doing ricochets. Suspend, suspend. Another one there. Throw another grenade. And I almost have my super back off this, so I might use that to fight the subjugator. We'll see. Another suspend. Yeah, I'll use my super here. I'll ignite the unstop, which will stun him. Get this Vandal from the back. Pop a Helion. Keep stunning him. Finish him. This is a big group of ads here. See what we can do. Put the nade down to start getting kills for my Devour. I'll keep it extended by getting kills with my Khvostov. Almost have my Transcendence back. I'll have it in just a second. There it is. Pop that. Now I'll just put some damage onto the boss. Once you have Transcendence, you can really afford to play quite aggressive. And the ricochets from the Khvostov is actually what completes this build. You'll see that it's so satisfying to use. I'll pop this to try and get some more time on my Transcendence. The ricochet's going there. And you also pick up, there's one. I get Restoration, I'm all good. So 3 more of these, pop a Helion for good measure. I can do Khvostov in this group. Grab that orb. Keep ricocheting everything, spreading Unravel to everything. I have my Transcendence back already. This is nuts, it's nuts. I'll pop super here just so I can deal with the unstop. This is a bit risky just doing it with my weapon. So I'll just keep chucking my nades and melees at it. And then I'll just finish the boss with the super. Keep going. Another Helion, because why not? Another Arcane Needle, another grenade. And there we are. Right, so there we have it. I hope you guys enjoyed the build. I will have a dim link to this build in the description, and I really encourage you to give this a try. I think you will like it. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. If you made it this far, thank you so much. Your support means the world. And if you're really into the content I create, consider becoming a member of the channel, which not only lets you support me in the best way possible, it also nets you a whole host of awesome perks along with it. A massive shout out to these members up on screen, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now, dear viewer.